He dashed into the woods, barefoot and scared, and was never seen again. This is the chilling story of Lars Mittank. In the summer of 2014, 23-year-old German tourist Lars Mittank decided to take a break from his studies at home and spend some time abroad with some friends. He headed to the Bulgarian coast, where they spent several days partying and swimming in the Black Sea. But soon after arriving, Lars got into an altercation that would change everything. At first, he shrugged it off, assuming it must have been something in his head. But then the pain grew worse and worse. Feeling helpless, Lars asked an airport employee for some cotton buds so he could look inside his ear. It was here that doctors performed an endoscopy and told Lars that he had a perforated eardrum. Now, just 2 days later, Lars was back in hospital again. He complained to the doctors that he could hear insects buzzing inside his head, so they did another scan. It showed that he had fluid on his brain. Doctors decided to perform a tap to remove the fluid. They put drops in his ear and sent him home with antibiotics. But not long after leaving, he went back to bed complaining that his head hurt and that he could hear voices in his head. According to the nurse, Lars had seemed fine until a tall, thin man approached him and spoke in a low voice. They asked the nurse if she had gotten a good look at the man who approached Lars, but she said she couldn't remember what he looked like. She also couldn't recall what the man had said to Lars, only that his voice was low and raspy. The man then placed a hand on Lars's shoulder, and that's when Lars became agitated. To make matters even more strange, in the CCTV footage, Lars is seen walking through the airport like a normal person. He doesn't appear to be homeless or distressed. Some people have even pointed out that he seems to be smiling in the footage. They had no leads and no idea where Lars could be. He began running around the garden frantically while screaming for help. 2 months after Lars disappeared, CCTV footage of him was captured at Varna Airport. You may be wondering, how could the hospital staff let that happen? Well, it's not the first time that this has occurred. In the past, many patients have disappeared from hospitals in Bulgaria. In fact, in 2007, 2 doctors were arrested for selling baby organs to Chinese buyers. Could something similar have happened to Lars? Is that why he had to endure all those painful tests at the hospital? It showed him walking through the terminal alone. This footage was taken on September 4th, 2014. It was 2 months after he had been missing. Why did he stay away for so long? And why did he return to the airport? In just a moment, I'll show you the most frightening video you'll ever see in your life. But first, I need to warn you. If you don't want to have nightmares for the next 10 years, then click away now. Go on, click away. I'm warning you, you don't want to see this. These are the questions that haunt his family every single day. The first possibility is that Lars suffered from mental illness. Perhaps he had a psychotic episode and fled the hospital. If that's true, then why did he go to the airport? Did he plan to flee the country? Or did he think that flying somewhere would improve his health? The man stayed calm, though, and then walked away slowly. That's what his parents think happened to him. They believe that the strange man that Lars spoke to at the hospital was responsible for his disappearance. If that's true, then where is he now? Was it really a man or a sinister force that lured Lars away? The last thing the nurse remembered was Lars bursting out of the door and running down the street. That night Lars's condition worsened. He began vomiting and shaking violently. We know that he's alive. I can feel it in my heart. In the middle of the night, his parents found him standing by the window and screaming, "I want to jump." He was only in his socks. They immediately contacted the police and told them that their son had gone missing. They quickly reacted and tied the window coverings to the bed frame to prevent him from doing anything drastic. Then they called the ambulance. The employee helped him out. But once Lars looked inside, he noticed that there was blood coming from a small hole in his ear. He could even see what looked like a tiny worm squiggling around. But when he tried to pull it out, it wouldn't budge. When they returned to the ward, they found that Lars had disappeared. A nurse told them that he had been sitting in the garden smoking a cigarette just minutes before. And when the nurse turned away, Lars vanished. He was nowhere to be seen. While on holiday, Lars and his group of friends had rented a house in the coastal city of Varna. This time, he was transferred to a psychiatric ward because the doctors believed that he was suffering from schizophrenia. But something strange happened next. On July 6, 2014, Lars left the house with his friends to go to the airport. They were flying back home. It was the end of their trip. And so far, there was nothing unusual about this day. Lars said goodbye to his friends, went through passport control, checked in his baggage and made it through security without a hitch. But something strange was about to happen. As Lars was making his way through the airport, he felt something sharp and pointy in his ear. In a panic, Lars called his mother, but when she picked up the phone, all he could say was, "Mom, I think I've been attacked. There's a worm in my ear." His mother didn't know what to do. She immediately told her husband to get in the car, and they drove straight to the nearest airport to get a flight to Bulgaria. Once there, they went straight to the hospital. A doctor examined Lars's ear, but there was no trace of any damage. They told Lars that it must have been a mosquito bite, but Lars knew that wasn't true. He could still feel the worm moving around inside his head. The next morning, Lars's parents took him back to the hospital in Varna. Later that day, Lars's family flew back home to Germany. On July 11th, Lars was discharged from hospital. When the paramedics arrived, they sedated Lars and took him back to the hospital. At 8 a.m. on July 12th, Lars's parents went to the hospital cafeteria for breakfast. It was then that Lars's parents realized that he wasn't actually wearing any clothes. Now, here's where things get weird. One of the nurses came forward and claimed that she saw Lars talking to a man outside the hospital. The police searched everywhere for Lars, but there was no sign of him. After 3 weeks of searching, the police gave up. But here's the most baffling part of this entire case. To this day, nobody knows where Lars was for those 60 days, or what he was doing all that time. So why did Lars disappear? Where was he for those 2 months? Did he run away from home? Lars's mother told the press, "We will never give up hope of finding him alive." As for me, I believe that one of 3 things happened to Lars. He was scared of someone, so he changed his identity and started fresh. The second possibility is that Lars was abducted by foul play. The third possibility is the most disturbing. Perhaps Lars was taken to be trafficked for his organs. What's your opinion on this case? Let me know in the comments below. Loved having you here. If you enjoyed this, hit subscribe.